The swastika is actually a solar symbol, and it's been used in religion all across the Indus Valley, Japan, all across Africa and Europe, which entails a lot of territory, and the Buddhist monks, probably best well known to the Buddhist monks. Now, not only did the Nazis use this solar symbol, but the black sun, which they said would serve as a source of power to the Aryan race. Revelations mentions the black sun in the Apocalypse. Edgar Cayce mentions the black sun in the pole shift. Many occultists and messengers also mention it in this 12,000-year cycle. Germany had a UFO in the 1920s, a circular cross anti-gravity aircraft, and they left behind a lot of layouts. The most common one is the Bell, the Glocker, but they had a ton. I'm going to let him pronounce them.
Flugzeug, Feuerball, Diskus, Haunebu Gerät, Freil, Kugelblitz, Andronergerät, Flugkreisel, Kugelwaffe, Jenseitsflugmaschine, Reichsflugschreiber.
I mean, why was their technology so much more advanced than anywhere else? So much that America and Russia are fighting over their war criminal rocket engineers and scientists. Like Operation Paperclip, we smuggled in 1,600 of their war criminals. It was like intervened in their trials, some of them, smuggled them in, wiped their records clean. Why were the big players so invincible? Hitler, Martin Bormann, Joseph Mengele, and those of you who don't know, Hitler didn't really off himself in a bunker, and neither did Martin Bormann. They escaped to Argentina. With Hitler, immediately the German government, aka the Nazis, burnt the body, and the Soviets closed in. They said, there's no way this is his body, it's a bad double. Then they changed their story and said they had the teeth confirmed by his dentist. But it was really his dentist assistant. The dentist had already escaped. It was a quarter of a jaw just eyeing it, which obviously they told her to say. They got money out of it, something like that, because the skull was later tested, and it was the skull of a woman. Here's a picture of him at the Eden Hotel, friends with the owner, all the Nazis were. Here's a picture of him in 1963, still keeping the mustache. This is what I mean, like God complex, invincible, under the pseudonym Adolf Schuttelmeyer. Didn't even change the first name. This is a picture of him old. I mean, they found a replica to the famous Berghof with all his Nazi memorabilia in Argentina. If you want to look more into it, watch Hunting Hitler. They have CIA documents to prove it. Don't try to Google it. Media control. And Joseph Mengele, he tried to order an ID in his own name in South America. And an ex-Israeli agent admitted to knowing where he was when they closed in on Adolf Eichmann in Argentina, and they just decided not to get him. Just focus on Eichmann, which is just insane. Now, between all this, and there's a famous Himmler speech that he's saying, Himmler was the one who ran the show. Like, above Hitler, he didn't have orders for anyone. He's talking about being under orders, talking about the secrecy, what a hard task it is, empathizing. I mean, of course, throwing in normal Nazi slander to get these guys going, but in between, it's a very, very strange speech. This swastika, solar symbol, can be found at Pumapunku, Tiwanaku. Now, they have a famous sunstone calendar. They also have a sun god called Viracocha, which at some point started demanding the most heinous kind of human sacrifice, where they would fill an arena with broken shards, everything, huge pots, glass, and they would just throw men by the dozens, face forward, and just watch them be decapitated, pierced in every way. Strangely, the Aztecs also have the god of Viracocha and a very famous sun calendar, and this Viracocha demanded the same kind of human sacrifice. Well, actually worse. 84,000 people on the steps of their Great Pyramid in 4 days. All human sacrificed, either killing themselves, killing each other, just a huge bloodbath. And you can find the dark gods manipulating the rulers all over with the same kind of stuff. Now, this is only the intro. I'm going to get to the real meat of the supernatural rise to power tomorrow. Nazis were obsessed with finding religious artifacts, most famously the Holy Grail. Not in a religious sense, they just knew the supernatural connection to the extraterrestrials. What they were really obsessed with was finding Atlantis. House of Atlantis, which used to have the Nordic god Odin on it, is where they studied the superior race, quote unquote, as they thought, and Atlantis. And surprisingly, it's what led to the Holocaust. They thought that the Aryan race was an extension of the lost civilization of Atlantis, or the modern-day incarnation of Atlantis. The Nazis went on 2 expeditions in 1938 to find the Atlanteans. One was in Antarctica, which they believed to be Atlantis, which it was. It just shifted from a warmer region, the last pole shift. And the other was Tibet, the Himalayan mountains, which I'll tell you about next. I'll start with Atlantis. Now, they also went to possibly build their own base And when they went, there was a lot of UFOs swarming. I think the Atlanteans didn't want them there based on what happened next. America got wind of this, so they formed Operation High Jump, which, they had an alias mission, which they didn't do one thing they said they were doing. Their real mission was to find the space, destroy it, and try to destroy, and recover any possible UFOs. When they went, UFOs were trying to chase them away, and there was one guy, Admiral Richard Byrd, who got every medal possible, highly respected, and he was actually pulled into an inner Earth system with greenery, and he called it the Crystal City. It was that indestructible glass. This indestructible glass, the Black Triangle UFOs are made out, all the UFOs are made out of it. The Emerald Tablets are made out of it, and you can fact check that on Rendlesham Forest incident, another military, several guys got close enough to actually draw the symbols. Those same symbols were also drawn at the Ostroboro, Japan incident in the 1800s, which the top of it was described as an upside-down glass bowl. Exact description is Ezekiel's chariot in the Bible, which is also a UFO. So there's this indestructible glass. Anyways, so he went down there, and the Blondes, I don't know if you don't know what the Blondes are, they're the Atlanteans, but other extraterrestrials impersonate them. But you can even Google, species of extraterrestrials, and you'll get the Blondes. So they were down there, and they pulled this, aircraft in to the Earth pretty deep. And they said that, they got to stop the war, giving pacifistic messages that, they're not ready for the atomic energy, and basically they need to avert their mission and, not make war with the Germans. And this is, he never released this information. It was in his journal before he died. He said he didn't want the information to die with him and let his son publish it. And their expedition to Lhasa, Tibet, was equally exciting. If you don't know what Shambhala is, it is the inner Earth mountain inside of the Himalayas, the biggest kingdom, and the Atlanteans reside in it. And I know the Atlanteans do reside in it because in China, the Naga, the serpents, guardians of the underworld, in India they call them the Anunnaki, so definitely Anunnaki. And in their ancient writings it says they wage war on the kingdom of Agartha, so definitely the Atlanteans. And now this makes sense. I've already told some of you guys about the Dropa stones and the 716 extraterrestrial bodies, 3'6" to 4'2" feet tall. And look at this, 12,000 years ago. Now we know what happened. It was the pole shift, global flood. That's why there's no damage to the body. Found in the tunnel from Lhasa to Shambhala that so many people have tried to enter before. The Buddhist monks and the government protect it tight. 10 years earlier, the American and the Russian government had Nicholas and Helena Roerich trying to get through it. Now all of a sudden, Chinese researchers looking for ore deposits stumble on these extraterrestrial bodies. It made no sense because the German government was there and they had a lot of money and power, and they definitely paid their way in. The best known occultist societies that the Nazis were involved in was the Thule Society, which was their society. It was refounded by Hitler, and the Vril Society, Maria Orsig, and they had to leave them behind. They got direct messaging from these masters of ascension spirits, and they told them that they were being manipulated by the Draconians, who came from Mars, traveled the Aldebaran star system, and that they were not only manipulating them to eliminate the Jewish population, gay men, gypsies, but the reptilian race. So that's the Anunnaki. We know these weren't the Anunnaki. And they were just impersonating the Blondes or the Atlanteans. Now, this actually aligns perfectly not only with the fact that all these ancient cultures associated war with Mars, but also the Sumerian tablets mentions another extraterrestrial race. And they said, the Nungao is the white serpent, the Anunnaki is the reptilian, and then the Kingo genes are who put the white serpent people here all the way back from the dinosaurs. This aligns perfectly with what Matthias Stephanus says, also another messenger from the Anunnaki, and he even says that it was the Draconians that put the original serpent people with the dinosaurs here.